the webinar with you today. So I hope you've got a nice cup of tea, some pen and paper to write things down. Oh, no, that wasn't right. Sorry, just moved a little bit. So with everything that's going on around us, I hope that you're all doing okay. Now's the time to change things and make a better future. This has definitely stopped us all in our tracks to revisit what we're doing with our lives and how we're doing things. And I definitely feel that these webinars are going to help so many people around the world with disability impairment get their needs met. Okay, so first up we will look at an acknowledgement of country. So 30-foot drop acknowledges the traditional owners throughout Australia and recognises their continuing connection to land, waters and the community. We pay our respects to the Indigenous people, their cultures and beliefs We pay our respects to the Indigenous people, their cultures and beliefs to both elders past and present. Funding. 30-foot Drop would like to acknowledge the Department of Communities Disability Services for funding this and many other initiatives. Without their support, so many projects such as Two Wise Monkeys would never see the light of day, and we'd be much more poorer for it as a community. This workshop is part of a Realities and Advantages of an Access and Inclusion grant awarded to 30-foot Drop as part of an Information, Linkages and Capacity Building grant for 2018 and 19. Okay, so housekeeping. Unfortunately, we do not have all the resources to monitor all of our live platforms. So if you do have any questions for us, you can head over to the link which is below the video, www.30footdrop.com.au/live. There's a little chat box in there and you can ask any questions you like. None are off limits. We'll be covering a lot of information in a short period of time, so we're asking people to please try and minimise any distractions. That I understand that might be a bit hard because some of you might have your kids at home, but if you do get distracted, we do record all the webinars, so you can go over this again if you've missed something. As well, if you tag 30-foot Drop in the webinars or anything that we do, could you please also tag us and share what we've got to offer with everyone. Like I said, we record the sessions so you can re-watch them later on. And all the information that I'll be referencing is all available on our website under resources. So if you want to go into more depth about what we've spoken about, there's lots and lots of different resources and studies on our website. As well, if you know anyone that might benefit from this website, please share this information with you. We do 6 webinars, 3 days. We do them 3 days a week. So one week we do 1 to 3. The next week we do 4 to 6. So it's an amazing thing, and a lot of you have time now to be able to do this, which is amazing. So please encourage other people to do this. At the end of the webinar, we'll take a short survey so that attendees can give us feedback and let us know how we're going. The webinar is on our website. There's about the survey is on our website. There's about 5 questions that you need to just answer, and more feedback for us, the better is great. Okay, so let me introduce myself. I'm Lisa and I am Hear No Evil. The other monkey is Ben and he is See No Evil. I'll let you tune into him when he's here. He's not here today. He'll be back next week. He's working from home now because of all these health issues. And luckily I can just come into the office. It's just me here, so it's pretty safe. I'll let you tune into him next week though, and you can hear his story. But for now, my story. I am here no evil, so just by looking at me, you probably can't tell what I may suffer from. Through me, you will realise that you will hear no evil about impairment. My story is definitely a more hidden one. At the age of 8, I was diagnosed with mild dyslexia. Teachers used to hit me on the head, read out my low marks, and yell at me in front of my classmates. Why don't you understand? What's wrong with you? Making me feel completely dumb and unworthy. Despite these challenges, though, growing up, I was determined and stubborn to prove these people wrong. I passed school, I did really well in art, I found that art and photography was my passion, and I just held on to that. It didn't matter that I wasn't an amazing mathematician or speller. I found what I was good at and I stuck with that. And the teachers that were teaching the art were really supportive of me. They could see things that maybe I couldn't even see, and they encouraged it. But it was really hard with the other subjects, because if you're not where they think you need to be, you're getting made to not feel that great. Anyway, if you know anyone that has learning disabilities, or you suspect one of your children do, there's lots and lots of tests out there that you can get done, and it's a matter of them finding their passion and what they're good at, and just encouraging them to do that and focus on that. It's not about, like I said, it's not about spelling and maths for people like us, because if we find it difficult and there's something actually going on, then we're going to struggle a little bit. But despite these challenges, I have multiple diplomas in the arts field, which has taken me all over the world. I've organised exhibitions, marketing, I paint myself, do photography. I've won in counselling, and right now have a photography business. Okay, so that's me. But isn't there supposed to be 3 wise monkeys? You guys can take a guess on who the third monkey might be. Who is the third monkey? I think it might be you. The aim of today's workshop is to turn you into a wise monkey. You'll begin on a journey of realising that, impairment or not, we are all human and deserve to be acknowledged and treated with the same respect as anyone else. And this is so true for today. We're all in this crisis together, and we are all equal and deserve the same opportunities and healthcare as everyone else. Okay, let's go over a little outline and method on what we will be talking about in webinar part 6. How are we going to get you started on the path of a wise monkey? Well, there's a lot to learn about people with impairment and their potential impacts on your business. Today's session is about how businesses can meet the specific needs of the market in order to tap into business and create change and inclusive ideas. We'll finish off and focus on tourism and events by having a look at the future. And the southwest of Australia has the potential to grow this market, and we'll have a look at how this can be accomplished. To finish off the session, we'll do an open forum chat session where you can ask any questions, but feel free to also ask them along the way. So how are we going to cover this? What will our teaching method be? The answer is fun, experience, and open, honest discussion. If we can't be honest with each other about what we need and how we feel, then changes can't be made. We need to speak up for ourselves. We need to come together and make these changes. And we can only do that by being honest. So please, if you have anything you want me to talk about or say, send me a message. You'll notice that there's very little written content on the slides, and that's because we're all here to interact with each other and take as much information in as possible. If we have too much wording on there, there might be people with impairments watching. They might not be able to read it. They might not be able to see it properly. So we've just made it as easy to follow as possible. So we hope you enjoy it. Next, terminology and review. So this is to stop confusion. Some people get these words mixed up thinking that this is the same, they mean the same thing, which in fact they don't. So I'm going to go over the difference between disability and impairment. An impairment is an injury, illness, or congenital condition that causes or is likely to cause a loss of difference of psychological and physiological function. In short, an impairment is your medical diagnosis. So my impairment is mild dyslexia. A disability, on the other hand, is the loss or limitation of opportunities to take part in society on an equal level with others due to social and environmental barriers. It is, as the word implies, something that makes you unable or disable to access or participate in something. For example, if you have a mobility issue and you own a cafe, and the only way that you can get into that cafe is through stairs, someone with a mobility issue is unable, disabled from using those stairs. So the word says it all. So something to think about if you don't have a ramp, for instance, or it's a bit difficult for people to get in with mobility issues. This could be stopping a lot of your business. So an example for me would be too much wording or stylized script can sometimes make it hard for people with dyslexia or learning disabilities to understand your meaning, which makes it hard for them to get the right information that they might need to use your business. This is especially important information because some people's impairments are hidden, and there's loads of people out there with dyslexia or other kinds of learning issues. So make your information as clear as possible so that everyone can understand and people with hidden disabilities can understand. There's nothing worse than, say, going to a website and they've got all this complicated information that only really smart people can understand. Then all those other people are not even going to go there with it, and you've lost business. Okay, so the next is the difference between access and inclusion. Access refers to the removal or reduction of barriers, physical and attitudinal, to participate in activities and functions of a community. At its core, it focuses a lot on the physical world around us and can be assessed with a checklist. Inclusion is more of a psychological state and is the process whereby every human being, irrespective of their age, disability, gender, religion, sexual preference, or nationality who wishes to, can participate fully in all aspects of an activity or service in the same way as everyone else, helping them to feel more included in activities and welcomed into the community. So hopefully that makes sense, the differences between those two. If they don't, just send us a message. Right, specific needs of the market. In session 5, we discussed the similarities between travellers with impairment and the rest of the population, showing that there is much more overlap. Despite the similarities to the general population, there are some important differences and specific needs that we need to talk about. Travellers with an impairment have a strong tendency to manage the stress and uncertainties of travel by returning to destinations that they know well. Consequently, they appear to have a higher rate of repeat visitation to businesses that support their needs, meaning they are very loyal customers. The Accessible Tourism in Victoria and Queensland report found that there are three main subjects areas specific to their needs which can be used to attract this market. These are information, planning, and service. Let's go over these in a bit more detail. So first up is information. Travellers with an impairment need more support in planning their experiences if they are to travel as much as they would like to. Also, for it to be an enjoyable experience rather than a stressful one. Let's face it, who wants to go on a holiday and it's just stressful? For someone with an impairment, it's way more likely to be stressful if you don't have what they need. Overall, more detail in the information that is currently being provided was the highest priority for this market. This is the highest thing that people with disability and impairment want changing, particularly those with limited mobilities. While this mostly related to digital resources such as websites and review sites, it could also refer to information anywhere travellers look, including destinations and overseas tours, even travel agents. There's all sorts of places these changes can be made. So also look into, rather than just having long documents with complex information on it, we need information that is relevant. Most places already have different measures in place. Let them know by putting it on your website and on your profiles such as TripAdvisor or Expedia. So if you've got your business on TripAdvisor or Expedia, put some messages or some symbols on there to let people know that your business has accessible toilets, it has accessible parking, because then they're going to know straight away you have those things, have pictures of them as well. They can go to your website, oh yes, they've got everything I need, I'll choose them. Whereas if you don't share that you've got that stuff, they're not going to even look at your website. Okay, also make information easy to find and absorb. This is specifically related to the accessible tourism information, which is often not prominently displayed and is very complex. So you may have that information on your website somewhere, but you're the only person that can find it. Make it easy. As discussed in the previous session, this is a decisive market segment and people with impairment are more likely to stop a transaction or discourage others from using your business because their needs were not met. Something very important to think about. Information needs to be well structured rather than a 50-page document with all the information on it, which can be very overwhelming for people. Look at breaking it down into small and logical parts. For example, one part on how to let the business or service know what you need, and then another on where people can access your ramps, toilets, and aqua bays. Information needs to be relatable. When choosing accommodation, attractions, or experiences, including a wide range of images that cover impairments, would help a potential traveller feel that they are choosing an option or place they feel comfortable going to. We go into more detail on what you can do with making your website more inclusive on session 4. But as discussed earlier, when you can relate to marketing, you subconsciously feel welcomed. So, information continues. Let's look at some of the specific findings from this report that relates to information. When asked what the number one priority to drive accessible tourism is, the most mentioned was information provision. If you make it easy to find and are highly accessible, then you will increase the chances of attracting more customers to your business. 41% wanted information contained on review sites like TripAdvisor or Expedia that was relevant to travellers with specific needs. There are many resources as to what these are, and you can look at these on our website. Another subject that's been brought to our attention many times is to introduce an accreditation system. This shows the businesses that have made the commitment and implemented an accessible travel system. This would be an amazing step forward for this unserved market. So this is when businesses can register with an accredited company where they either get 5 stars or 1 star to do with accessible tourism. So people with disability impairment can go onto that website, they can say, oh, I like the look of this hotel. Oh, it's only got 1 star, so that means it's not going to be accessible for me. Oh, hang on, let's have a look at this one. Oh, it's got 5 stars. It's got everything I need. Let's book it. So there's so much more that we can be doing, and this accredited system will hopefully, working with 30 Foot Drop and other people, we can get this done. When asked What the priority for improvements to the market was, 86% related that the addition of more practical information was very important. This included locations of aquatic bays, toilets and access ramps. 83% rated an increased prominence of this information on tourism and transport websites. So it's very important information, and if it's not on your website or your transport systems, then people with disability and impairment cannot use your services. Next up is planning. Let's move into the next part of the Pacific Needs Planning. People with impairment, especially those with mobility issues, have specific needs that, if not met, makes visiting a business or event impossible. With all the effort and cost it takes to plan a trip or visit somewhere, lots of research is done beforehand to ensure resources are not wasted. 40% of respondents stated that not knowing what to expect was a barrier to travel, highlighting the benefit of more detailed information being available to be able to plan their trip. As you can see, there's a need for expert advice at the planning stage if you want to attract this market. Creating relationships and prompting your accessibility on platforms such as disability forums, peak bodies in the area, specialist travel agents, and even the NDIS coordinators are all important. Internally, you can appoint an accessibility coordinator, someone who is knowledgeable in all aspects of the accessibility in your organisation. This person would be responsible for answering all access queries and creating relationships. This coordinator could also address the next point in the research. Specifically, the research highlighted a strong preference to connect with a business or destination personally, either by phone or email. This would provide a potential customer with the information in a rapid and accurate manner, increasing a likelihood of turning it into a sale. That personal connection is so important, especially for someone with an impairment or disability. Traditional travel agents with a strong service ethic could also be important in driving this conversation, particularly for older travellers and those who have lower support needs. Many clients had low expectations, so this advice could expand their interest and create demand for new products. Travellers with an impairment find it hard to be inspired when they don't know what is possible, and having an advocate for this and the possibilities would be a huge win for everybody. So there needs to be more people out there advocating for these people. They're just left to do the work themselves, and if we can make it easier for them, then it's definitely a win-win situation. We'd love to have more of these people travelling around the southwest. Okay, service. There are still many challenges with regards to attitudes and understanding tourism, hospitality, event staff, and those of the public towards travellers with an impairment. This is especially a challenge for young travellers with an impairment, or those who have hidden impairments, who require support in less obvious ways. Top service by all staff is a key driver for recommendations across all travel categories in this study. As we all know, good service drives more customers. Cost is very important for many travellers with an impairment, as most need to travel with a carer and equipment, which makes things even more expensive. So, yeah, something that some of you may not have thought about. Someone with a disability has a carer. That carer needs to be paid. They need somewhere to stay. It's no wonder we're not travelling. It's too expensive. So something to think about would be assistance with these costs, including potentially via the National Disability Insurance Scheme, or a special deal or service with those with a carer would assist removing the barriers to travel, and also has a ripple effect in regards to ethical consumerism, as discussed in an earlier session. So if you're going to be the first person to start a deal where you've got someone coming in with a carer, you can give the carer half price, or the carer can be free. Start that trend. More and more businesses will start following, and it's not going to be a negative, it's only going to be a positive. Let's look at growing the market in your region. Major stakeholders. So we have looked at the opportunities and needs of the segment and what potential we can tap into. How are we going to grow this? What needs to be done and who needs to be involved? The opportunity to grow this market is a multifaceted project in which all key stakeholders have a role to play. Who are these stakeholders? Let's have a look at these. First up, we have people with impairment, their families and their carers. These are people who will be served by this project, and having a direct understanding of their needs is critical at every stage. They should be should be very central to every decisions made. Peak bodies that represent both tourism and the disability sector need to make conscious choices along the way next to people with a disability to ensure they know what needs need to be met. Who else? Government on a state and local level to help with infrastructures. Destination management and organisations such as visitor centres, tourism and event service providers. These are all people that need to get involved to bring this together and build a better future for every human being. Okay, growing the market in the region. This part is intended as an executive overview of the stages. This is by no means a how-to, and we realise that there is much more involved. That being said, let's get into it. There are 5 stages that are required to grow this market. They are consult, inspire, educate, collate, promote, and lastly build. Let's look at these closer and see how stakeholders can get involved in these. These are the stages, the pictures. First up, we will look at consult. This should be the foundation of accessible tourism. It should ensure that what is offered is built on a rich understanding of what travellers with impairment want and need. This is the responsibility of all stakeholders, but government and destination management officers can take the lead, as they have the resources and skills to undertake projects and research to then guide others. Stage 2, inspire and educate. Ensure that the industry has an understanding of the potential sector and is provided support on how to get targeting started. Government, destinations and peak bodies should all have a role in driving this. Further, many travellers with an impairment have low expectations about what is available to them, while their aspirations to travel are high. The task here is to encourage them to explore and test the boundaries. Peak bodies and service providers can play a strong role here, and so can individual operators like you. So if you go out and test the boundaries and you've found positives and negatives in someone's business or service, let them know. Definitely let them know the negatives so that next time when you go back, the issues have been resolved. So here's a picture of Ben, the director of 30 Foot Drop and Two Wise Monkeys. It's a picture of him just after he had abseiled down the tallest building in Perth in a wheelchair. Something he thought he could never ever do again, which was abseil. But here, peak bodies and businesses came together to make it work. So it just proves anything is possible. Growing the market. Collate. This is about bringing the experience together to provide a holistic offering in some key destinations to help the traveller plan and navigate their trip. Government and peak bodies in both tourism and disability sectors and service providers can all potentially play a role to help identify new areas of experience and product development or supporting infrastructure. Governments can work with this in the sector in a number of ways, including improving accessibility standards in the industry and developing infrastructures that consider and complete every user's experience. Very important message. Promote. Many travellers are not aware of what is on offer. Therefore, it is important to promote what is available to generate demand. The information needs to be easy to find, well structured, and provide the opportunity to develop further planning and build confidence in the experience or trip. This is the responsibility of individual businesses and destinations. Growing the market. This is the last stage. While not the highest priority for now, new infrastructure needs to be the subject of ongoing focus, ensuring that any new infrastructure employs universal design principles, which will make this opportunity more cost-effective for the future. This is a cross-industry responsibility. So it's important for new businesses and companies to follow these standards, and is also the responsibility of people with an impairment to generate this demand. So there's a new building being built and there needs to be certain standards in place where it is accessible. There's no little bumps or there's no things that can stop people being able to get inside. There needs to be, people need to come together to make sure that from the beginning, that building, service, cafe, anything that's getting built is usable for all people with disability impairment. There's lots and lots that we can do to make this change. And if you have noticed anything or thought of anything around where you live or within your own business, then think about talking to those people about making changes. Or if it's within your own business, look at making those changes, because now is an important time. Once this is all over, we do want to create, there's a new market out there that we want to create demand for. So once this is over and you've watched these webinars and you've realised that you want to tap into that market, then this is an opportunity for you. I hope that you've enjoyed this morning. I know most of the information goes over the Australian population, but I'm sure that this relates to many people around the world, because now that we're in a bit of a lockdown, we're finding that we're getting people watching these from all different places all over the world, which is important because you guys will also have things that are barriers and stopping you from using different services or businesses. So these messages are important for everyone, not just us in Australia. But I thank you for joining me today. I hope everything made sense. If you have any questions, please jump into the chat box. I'm going to turn the video off for 5 minutes for anyone that wants to ask any questions. If you do have to go, please, before you go, do the survey. Click on the website link below this video and do the survey. That'd be amazing. But for those of you that want to ask questions, follow the link and type away. I'll see you guys soon. Thank you for joining me, those that are leaving. Welcome back. There doesn't seem to be any questions today, which is fine. I hope you all can try and have as good a day as you can, get things done, read a book. Yeah, it's tough times, but we can get through this together. It's all about making changes, and I think the universe definitely wants us to do that. I will see you again tonight. If you know anyone that you think could benefit from the webinar that I've just done, I will be here again tonight to do it again. So if you won't be, then join us again next week. We'll be starting back at webinar 1. Thanks for joining me today. Take care.